Finally, the recipes page. Adding recipes is a huge time saver, but it is undoubtedly the most involved page on this sheet to edit. I will show you step by step how to create a recipe. Just follow very, very closely. First, unhide the Recipes tab by clicking the 3 stacked lines in the bottom left corner of the page, the same way you did for the food data page. Next, scroll down to the bottom of the list in column A. Each recipe is separated by a green bar and a black bar. This is to make space for formulas and avoid confusion. Start by typing a shorthand name for your recipe. In this example, we will use hamburgers. At first I typed hamburgers as the name, but later on I changed this to burgers, because for each recipe we need 2 named ranges and they cannot have the same name. After typing the recipe name, start adding your ingredients. For this example, I used the drop-down to add pork, ground beef, Worcestershire sauce, paprika, Frank's Red Hot, burger buns, and American cheese. As I was entering this recipe, I noticed that I did not have burger buns in my food data page, so I went back to the food data page and added burger buns, following the steps provided in the previous tutorial. After adding my ingredients, I added the amount used in the recipe in grams. You may have to look up a converter online or measure out your ingredients and weigh them on a food scale. It is important that the grams you enter is correct so that the macro breakdown is correct. Once you've entered the amount used in column H, the rest of the data in I through M should auto-populate. Any items in the recipe that don't have an exact measurement, such as condiments like mustard, pickles, mushrooms, etc., can be added in column A underneath the title. Just be sure you measure out whatever you use and enter it separately on the daily schedule page. Some items, such as garlic powder or salt, don't have a significant nutritional value. For these, just add them to column A. No need to put them in on the daily schedule. Once you have completed adding in your ingredients and the amount used, you will need to use an empty row at the bottom of your recipe to add together all of the totals. In this example, my ingredients started on row 64 and ended on row 70. I skipped a row to allow for the additional ingredients in column A, and I started typing my new formula on row 73, column H. Type equals sum, and then click the sum formula that pops up as an option. Once you click sum, it will want to know which cells to add together. Start on column H where your first ingredient is and highlight all of the H cells down to where your last ingredient is. In this example, I started on H64 and highlighted down to H70, and then press enter. This will total up the amount of grams used. Do this exact same thing with columns I, J, K, L, and M. Or, to make it easier, click on your sum formula cell, H72 in this example, and grab the little circle at the bottom right corner. Drag that circle all the way to the M column. This will auto-populate the formula with the correct ranges to each cell. I like to highlight this row in green to avoid confusion. Next, you will need to create a named range for the recipe. In the green cells, columns N through R, delete all but the last row. So in this example, my hamburgers recipe starts on N64 and ends on R72. So I am going to select N64 and highlight through R71, leaving that last row alone, and hitting the delete key. You should see blank green cells except for the last row on 72 columns N through R. Those should still have data. Copy the recipe name in column A, then highlight the last string of data, starting on N72 and highlighting over to R72 in this example. After highlighting those cells, right-click and go down to View More Cell Options and click Define Named Range. paste the recipe name in the named range and click Done. Lastly, go to the food data per pound page to add the final part. Scroll all the way down to the recipes area, which starts on row 1000, and go to the first empty row. For this example, it is right below pizza. In the cell on column B, type or paste your recipe name exactly as it is spelled on the recipes page. As soon as you do, you should see data populate on the row to the right. In the cell on column A, type a different name for your recipe so you can make this its own named range. In this example, we used burgers for the recipe page, and we are using hamburgers for the food data page. So column B on the food data page says burgers, and column A says hamburgers. From here, we add the named range the exact same way we did for the food items in the last tutorial. Highlight the row that is pink, columns I through M, and right-click, go down to View More Cells Action, click Define Name Range, and then paste or type your recipe name from the A column. For this example, it is hamburgers. You've done it. You can now go to the daily schedule and select hamburgers as your meal.